Hi, Paul.
Hi, Brooke. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good now. I don't want to compare Walking Dead to Drop Dead Diva just because Dead's in the title. Talking with some of the creators of that show and how strong their fan base is, and looking at your show and how strong your fan base is, I'm wondering, do you guys ever let the voice of the fan kind of seep into the show if they're really pushing for something they want to see?
You know, I actually don't know the answer to that because I'm not actually a part of the writing or the writer's room or anything like that. It's a great question for Josh Berman if you ever interview him, our creator. But I don't know. I don't know what they do about fans' opinions of what they think should or should not happen.
So you don't ever have somebody come up to you on the street and say, "Oh my, this needs to happen," and then you kind of mention it, and all of a sudden you see it happen in the show.
I've never done that, but I do have lots of people going, "This should happen" or "This should happen." But yeah, I tend to just kind of let them surprise me with what they're going to do.
Well, one of the interesting things about this upcoming season is that Jane is going to meet old Jane, and I'd like you to explain to me exactly how that's going to work.
Well, you know, at the end of season 4 in the finale, we know that old Jane has pressed the return button and has made her way down to Earth. We don't know exactly where she is, but she's somewhere, and we know she's unhappy. And so Deb and Jane's body is very weary and or eerie of that, and leery of that. There we go. And she's looking all over, trying to figure out where old Jane is, and she does find her, and I'm not going to spoil where she is, but it's kind of fun to see the two of them, Deb in Jane's body and old Jane, trying to relate to each other.
And season 4 ended on such a great cliffhanger. I'm wondering, where do you guys pick up in the timeline? Is it immediate, or is it going to be a little time has passed?
I want to say it's maybe a half hour to an hour afterwards. It's not long after the finale.
Now, is that a tough thing to come in and find where you were in that headspace compared to coming back a little bit of time later and picking up where you're supposed to be just a half an hour from what just happened?
You know, it's actually, for me, it's actually not as challenging as you would think, because as far as I know, that's where we ended the story. So I haven't lived on, you know, and haven't had other experiences as Deb and Jane's body. I stopped there too, you know, so picking up right there seems pretty natural for me.
Yeah, well, can you tell us what's going to happen with Jane and Owen?
No, I can't tell you what's going to happen. I can't tell you that. But I can tell you it's filled with lots of ups and downs for the two of them. But you know, Jane, she kissed another man on her wedding day. What are you going to do?
Well, who doesn't kiss another man on their wedding day?
Exactly. You can hardly blame her.
Well, I would think it'd be an easy thing to kind of wriggle out of.
Yeah. It gets fixed very quickly. No.
Well, now, and she has a new angel this year. Can you tell us a little bit about Paul and what he's up to?
Yeah, Paul, who's played by Justin Dealey, is a really fun character that they've introduced. And, of course, like every other angel that Jane has, they're so not an angel for her. Like, she ends up having to take care of them all the time, and constantly leaving Deb in Jane's body with a feeling of like, aren't you supposed to be my angel? You know, but he's very fun, and he's very innocent, and he's just excited to be down on Earth, and it's a really, really fun character. And what it's brought to our show, which I love, is a lot of physical comedy. I get to do a lot of physical comedy scenes with Justin, who plays Paul, and I love doing physical comedy, so that just feeds into my passion, and it's really fun.
Well, is that a thing where you wait until you're both on set to kind of form that relationship between your two characters, or is that something you completely work out before we see you both on screen together.
No, we did it on set. We just kind of found it together, you know, because as he is new to Jane, Justin was new to me. So we really had to, you know, kind of figure out, okay, how do you work and how do you work and what can we do? And through that, we found all this great physical comedy. And so it was a lot of fun.
And this is probably another show for some, I mean, not another show. Sorry, it's early. Another question for somebody else. I was going to ask, do you guys ever look at the angels on Supernatural and think maybe we should take what they're doing in a little bit different direction, or vice versa?
I don't know. I don't know if our creator looks at that. I don't have any idea about that, actually. I'll have to ask him.
Well, I only bring it up because that's the only other show right now that it has such a heavy angel influence on it.
Yeah, you know, I've never seen that show, so I'd have to go check it out.
What?
I know. I know.
Jeez.
I know, but I'm shooting right now. I don't see any show when I'm shooting.
Well, that brings up an interesting question. I mean, in terms of your fans, and I mean, you guys have such a great fan base. I'm wondering, was there any show you were as passionate about when you were growing up and discovering that you wanted to become an actress, or were you never kind of a TV person?
No, I was definitely a TV person, definitely. Gosh, I mean, you know, when I was little, of course, I was watching Family Ties and Growing Pains and Love Boat and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And let's see, you know, Rosie O'Donnell was somebody I really looked up to. She was so funny, and her show was big as I was kind of getting into college. But I mean, I love TV, so I definitely have been a fan for a long time. But you know, I didn't know at first that I was going to go that way. I really thought I would go the singing. You know, I thought I would just be Barbra Streisand because she was my very favorite, and so I was like, well, I'll just be her when I grow up. This is when I was little. But then, you know, as I got into acting, and it just kind of really opened up for me.
Well, do you still get to sing on camera? I mean, when you're doing the show, do you say, hey, this would be a great place where I could bring in a song?
You know, we used to do that with the show, and I guess they changed the focus of what they wanted, and so we're not doing that as much. But I loved the musical numbers. I thought they were so fun.
So none to expect in season 5, you're telling me, or you would tell me anyways, probably.
Well, I would tell you, none that I know of with me, and I don't know if they're thinking of doing anything, you know, with Margaret Cho. Sometimes Margaret sings on the show, but I know with me, we're not planning on anything.
Well, now, can you tell me what's going to happen between Kim and Jane?
Between who, I'm sorry?
Kim and Jane?
Oh, between Kim and Jane. Oh, well, let's see. Well, you know, Kim is pregnant. So we know that with Parker's baby. And so Jane at this point is really looking forward to Kim's maternity leave. And she's even throwing her a party to say, bye-bye, go have your baby. So I love Jane and Kim. I think they're really fun, and I could stand for them to write tons more between those two characters. I think they're really fun.
Well, and I asked the fan question. Now, what about you? Do you ever have an idea for the show where you're like, oh my gosh, I think this should happen? Or do you just leave that completely off the table and alone and just wait for the script?
Yeah, I leave it be, and I just wait for the scripts and wait to see what we get. I'd love more involvement in that side of it, but I think once we're shooting, it's just I can't quite do both, because Jane is in almost every scene. So, but I would love to be involved in that side of it. But as of right now, I focus on Jane.